really refreshing to hear that you're not having a ton of insurance-based conversations or rejections at this point. And I don't know if you attribute it to this, but I attribute it to you're just very well known for providing high quality services in your community. And when that is the case, people want quality services, and that's what they're going to prioritize first, not the insurance.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning, I was having more questions about it. And now I would say in the last 4 to 6 months, I've had more people because they've heard about me from other people. I actually, on like their free 15-minute consult call, I asked, do you have any other questions? And they say, no, you're good. I'd love to schedule an appointment. And they haven't asked about insurance. And so I actually have to say, and just so you know, I do not take insurance. And they're like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. I'm like, okay. I just want to be very upfront about that before you come to my office. But
Yes.
they've already kind of processed what that means and the benefits of
Right.
that.
And I think that right there is the dream scenario for most OTs that are considering. And I think that's really refreshing for them to hear that once they do the hard work in the beginning and they put themselves out there and they build the reputation, those kind of concerns that maybe are preventing them from even starting a private pay practice actually become very minimal after you get further down the road. Today, I am talking with the amazing OT, Kyrsten Spurrier. And in today's interview, you are going to hear all about how Kyrsten is using her community involvement to grow her private pay OT practice. She is the owner of the Perinatal Pelvis in Hillsborough, North Carolina. She started her journey in pelvic health after her own experience with birth trauma, and she opened her doors in October of 2021. She strives to help moms feel strong, functional, and confident in their bodies while experiencing compassionate and holistic care. She's actually a graduate of Private Pay MBA, which, in her words, have allowed her to start and grow her business to what it is today. Enjoy. So, Kyrsten, I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to jump right in because one of the things that I am most impressed about you is that you just have this way of getting out and being very visible in your community. And you're constantly doing events and you're constantly meeting with people and just making connections. So, can you share with everyone what are the types of things that you're doing in your community?
Yeah. So basically, I did everything that the masterclass told me to do. And I started doing Nurturing Moms Hillsborough, which I created as a mom community group because I just got a few patients into my door right when I opened, like one or two. And it was coming off of the pandemic. And they were kind of like saying, I don't have any friends. I don't have any mom friends. This is really isolating. And in our small community, there were no moms groups. So I was like, I will start a mom group. It started as more of an educational group. I run it through the app of Meetup. It's for me to do classes and get my name out there and provide education to the community. But then it also has evolved into just mom hangout groups too, that moms are meeting at parks and stuff like that. So it has grown to be about like 150 moms in the group that really work and have ideas and work together to bring events to the community. I've also done a lot of vendor events, anywhere from focusing on ones that are focused on moms and families to last summer, I did a local barbecue event that I was just like, I'm going to be out there and tell people that I'm here and in this community. And then kind of like what the masterclass really focuses on of getting into your networking lists and your provider lists and really working that list down into who's your ideal provider that is referring to you. I have spread my wings very extensively on my list, and I still am trying to schedule one or two a month with new providers in the area, and I've been open for over a year. So,
Wow, that's incredible. And I think it's just a testament that Opening and running your own practice is about a lot of different experimentation and getting yourself out there. And you seem to really kind of embrace this philosophy of just going for it, putting yourself out there, meeting with as many people as you can, spreading the word about your private pay practice. Is that something that just comes natural to you? And what would you say for someone who, because we get asked this question a lot, who's just looking for a quote unquote formula that works?
It did not come naturally to me. I'm actually a very introverted person. So I do not normally go up and talk to people. So the networking and just going and being around people more has definitely stretched me as a person. I think there was just this really strong drive to make this work and a strong drive because I have such a passion for it too. It's like, I know that moms need this. So I am going to tell anybody and everybody that need to hear this, what I'm doing. I would say in terms of a formula, I think what you guys have created in the masterclass has been amazing. I followed that really to a T, but then saying yes to everything. I talked to my husband actually started telling me that when I started, and he's like, you are not at a point to be picky. So you get to say yes to every single opportunity. And he has really supported me in if I need to go do something late at night or whatever. It's like you put yourself in situations that people see you and you say yes. And it's been interesting of where those connections come from, because on the places that I go and I'm like, this is not worth my time, sometimes have come out to be the best opportunities and where I get the most patients following me, or that a provider is there and it's like, oh, I didn't know that you were here. So it's been very interesting to just go in with that philosophy and see what comes up at the end of it. So,
Yeah, and I think it's a good point because I find that many times private pay practice owners can just open their doors and then hope clients kind of find them. It's the whole adage like build it and they will come, but it really takes a lot of active nurturing. And I was talking to a private pay MBA student just earlier this week, and she said one of the things that she got out of the course was that she thought she was doing all of the follow-up she needed to do, but she was doing this amount of follow-up when really you needed to do this amount of follow-up. And that was like a huge sort of mindset shift for her. And that's something I think that you embrace. You say it's not natural. It seems natural to me with hearing about all the things that you do. And as you said, you don't know where those connections are going to lead, and so you have to put yourself in those situations to find potential referral sources, to find influential people in your community who are going to be either a client of yours or also a referral source. Could you talk a little bit about some of the interactions that you've had that have led to some of the bookings that you've encountered?
oh, I would say, where are my biggest referral sources? My doulas, which are the doulas were hard for me to get into because they're so busy and their timing is really weird because they have births and stuff. So that took me a really long time to really connect with doulas and have relationships with them, that they felt comfortable sending me patients, but that took longer than I expected, because that one you kind of think like, oh, that's obvious, but it's harder based off of their schedules. I would say my email list, I get more long-term patients, like people that see me at a vendor event. I've had people 8 months later book with me, which is just crazy that that's just such a long-term thing. And then I would say going into starting my practice, I really did think that I was going to get more providers referring to me. And I do not have tons of consistent providers. It is word of mouth and making sure that it's like having those relationships with your patients and providing such a valuable product to your patients that they go and tell people about you. So I right now have like this neighborhood in Hillsborough. There's like I think 8 moms, and I have 4 of them coming to my practice right now. So it's just that they all talk and moms talk, and the importance of a personal referral goes so much further than a doctor just saying, "Hey, you need to go," and recognizing the power in that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of OTs are nervous about two things. So they're nervous about putting themselves out there, right? Doing things, getting out into the public sphere or doing social media. And it comes up a lot with our students. Like they're really nervous about this idea of selling. They don't want
Yeah.
to sell. But I found that there's this magical sort of feedback loop where the more you put yourself out there, the more accessible you are, the more value you're providing in your community, the less you actually have to quote unquote sell.
Yeah.
So what's been your experience with this and what have you found to be true?
Well, I totally understand, like, putting yourself out there is nerve-wracking, but it is for everybody. Like, it's not like we have this innate skill that this is just something that's natural to everyone. I think I tell this to my patients all the time, that you are learning a new skill, and learning new skills really as adults is difficult. And so there's a part of you that just has to be like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you are not, at least for my situation, I was not getting patients. I was not getting referrals. So what's the worst that can happen? That they don't send me patients still? Like, whoa, like there's no difference. The only thing that is like going to make a difference is that if you don't do anything, that your business plummets and doesn't take off, right? So you almost have like everything to lose and nothing to lose at the same time. In terms of being salesy, don't ever feel like I'm selling people. I feel like I'm showing them, really with pelvic floor therapy, like showing them a new way of thinking about it, as well as like the passion I have for it. Talking to moms of how every mom deserves to feel strong. Like, I feel if you work on what you are giving to people, then you aren't selling really your products. You're selling them on a lifestyle of who they could become.
Yeah.
And so that's totally different. And you're making them believe in themselves. And that's what my patients that write reviews after, they say that the most, of like, man, I really gained confidence in my body. I really feel stronger. I felt like I could go and do other things because I came and worked on myself. So it becomes such a self-care element to their journey.
That's beautiful. And I think that connection of connecting it to the end result that the client has and
Yeah.
truly believing in what it is that you're doing, right? That transformation you're giving to new moms and that confidence gives you a lot more ability to navigate maybe some of the tricky situations that you may have as a private
Mhm.
pay practice owner because you know you're believing in what it is that you're doing and you're seeing the evidence week in and week out of the impact you're having on clients' lives. And that makes some of the other business side, talking about insurance, talking about pricing, a lot less emotionally charged because you're operating from a place of, well, I know the intrinsic value and the transformation I'm going to give you, so I know this is going to be worth it for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I guess I work in a place that there are places that people can go and get insurance. And I have very few patients that call me and don't book with me because of insurance once I'm able to talk to them. And some I have come to the realization of like, I will work with you. Like, what kind of price could we work out that I can still give you services, because I really believe in my valuable product and I want you to experience that, because I'm seeing a valuable customer gives me so many more referrals afterwards. So if I reduce my rates just for one person, it's going to compound into so many other people. And so that's kind of the philosophy I've taken, of not just being like, nope, these are my rates, this is all I'm going to do, but really working with people and meeting them where they are.
And I think that's one of the great things, for me at least, about having your own practice is being able to actually be flexible and to
Yeah.
exercise that flexibility, because we all want that in other providers that we go to. But many times, if you're in a corporate type position, there's not flexibility in terms of how long you are seeing. There's not flexibility in terms of pricing or packaging, or even the modalities that are being used. And it's one of the things that we love about private pay practices is, like, it's your ship. Like, if
Yeah.
that's a meaningful to you, do it. Like, nobody's going to tell you no. The only person
Yeah.
standing in your way is yourself from doing that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I was going to say too, of just not being salesy, is working on really getting that clear direction of who you are marketing to and like what you are providing. And that took me a little bit of work for sure, of really having a clear direction, because if you go out there and are like, I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, that's a lot more difficult to not feel like you're trying to make them sign up for something that's really vague.
Right. No, I completely agree. And I think a lot of OTs that we speak to are nervous about going into private pay because of the insurance question. They think that that's going to be a huge barrier for a lot of clients. And we haven't found that to be true. And we haven't found that to be true of our students. And it's really refreshing to hear that you're not having a ton of insurance based conversations or rejections at this point. And I don't know if you attribute it to this, but I attribute it to, you're just very well known for providing high quality services in your community. And when that is the case, people want quality services, and that's what they're going to prioritize first, not the insurance.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning, I was having more questions about it. And now I would say in the last 4 to 6 months, I've had more people, because they've heard about me from other people. I actually, on like their free 15-minute consult call, I asked, do you have any other questions? And they say, no, you're good. I'd love to schedule an appointment. And they haven't asked about insurance. And so I actually have to say, and just so you know, I do not take insurance. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's totally fine. I'm like, okay. I just want to be
Amazing.
very upfront about that before you come to my office. But
Yes.
they've already kind of processed what that means and the benefits of
Right.
that.
And I think that right there is the dream scenario for most OTs that are considering. And I think that's really refreshing for them to hear that once they do the hard work in the beginning and they put themselves out there and they build the reputation, those kind of concerns that maybe are preventing them from even starting a private pay practice actually
Mhm.
become very minimal after you get further down the road. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So
I
one of
actually had I
Yeah, go
actually
ahead.
had a patient too that I did give her more of a sliding scale, and she was just at a position that she couldn't do it. But she left and she was like, thank you so much for giving me lower rates, but please never reduce your rates. Like, if anything, you are priced lower because you are providing such a valuable product. And like, thank you for working with me, but don't think that your value is any less. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. I think that's like a huge validation to get from your clients, and to
Yeah.
hear that, because I know so many people are concerned about rates and concerned about charging, but to be on the flip side as a consumer and be like, actually, this was really worth the time and you're probably underpricing yourself, I think is just a great testament to what you're doing in your community.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is email. So we've worked together on your email and setting it up so it's kind of like this engine you have working around the clock in the background. And you mentioned it earlier in the call, like, it's really a long-term strategy. The lead time on it can be lengthy, but I think it's important to put in place because it is something, it's like your little asset that's constantly working when you're not fielding calls. And sometimes people are surprised to hear that a local practice should actually have an email list. So I was just wondering, can you describe like your experience with this?
Oh, well, it has been a journey. It is not my favorite thing, but it has definitely probably been one of the biggest contributors to having patients follow me and connect with me and end up booking with me. So It is a struggle for me to write newsletters and emails because I'm not a writer. But like I said, I have people signing up and through multiple different ways, and I hear back from them 6 months later. And one of them was like last summer, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got your card and I signed up for your email list and I've been following you for 8 months and I just loved everything that you said on your emails. So now I'm pregnant and now I'm going to come see you." So you just don't know where people are in their life when they sign up for things or when you connect with them. And I feel like at first you feel as a practitioner, you're like, "Oh, well, I'm just marketing to the people that are having pelvic floor dysfunction right now." And you aren't. You're marketing to your community. And so that your community can tell everybody that shares their pelvic floor dysfunction to them that, "Oh, you should go see Kyrsten." So it's not an immediate thing. It's a long-term, and sometimes it's not even the person that is getting the emails. That person that's getting the emails, their daughter or their sister is having issues and is like, "Oh, you should go see Kyrsten." And that's been the surprising thing. I will say I have done stuff on my website that they sign up for and then will get on to my emails, but also that has been best thing I do at vendor events is I get the most people through that is I do a giveaway, I get people's emails and log them into my newsletter. So I would say that's the biggest asset of going to vendor events is to get emails.
Yeah. I think that that's super important, and we talk about it a little bit in the course, which is, and you mentioned it, which is that there's people who are ready to book right now, right? And those are the people who are going to Google and trying to find a pelvic floor therapist, in my area. But then there are people who aren't ready to book right now, or they don't quite yet have the issue that you're providing a solution for. And I think most successful private pay practices are the ones who target those people, the people who aren't necessarily ready to book right now, because otherwise it's just a game of ranking really high in the search terms for your area and having your local Google My Business profile. But doing that long-term strategy, as you say, of nurturing them so that then when they're ready to book, when they have the problem or when they're finally fed up enough that they want to take action, you've been the person who's been consistently showing up in their life. And so it's no wonder they're going to call you because you've been the one that's giving them the value for the longest. And I think a lot of times for those clients, there really is no other provider they would consider because they've already created that connection with you. And that is super, super powerful for your long-term success, I think.
Yeah. Well, and then also like looking at your community of what sets you apart too, and making sure that's reflecting in your emails. So I have quite a few patients that got on my email list and have had pelvic floor therapy in the past. And they finally gave me a chance and booked with me because they could see through my emails that I looked at the body differently and I did things a little differently. And it was enough to be like, let me try something different.
Yeah. I find that email, like we used email a lot in our practice. Other students of ours use email. And I find that people think it's old fashioned to send emails. And I just want to be like a little bit clear, like the types of emails that we're talking about, they're not the types of emails you get from the Gap or, these other heavily promotional emails. These are story-based emails. These are emails about educating potential clients about problems they may be having and giving them tips. It's showing up in their email inbox and giving them value and education, not pitching them, a bundle of services. And it's kind of, I think it makes the OT feel a little bit more natural in the sense of sending the emails because it isn't overly promotional. And the potential clients really benefit because you're showing up in their inbox and giving value to them ahead of
Yeah.
time, which I think is the best marketing you can do. Give them value, give them some sort of micro result before they ever even book with you.
Yeah. Well, and I actually just started a whole nother email chain geared towards providers and giving them resources to give out to their patients. Because I've been meeting providers, and some of them are local, some of them are further away in North Carolina that they don't have any resources. And I was like, well, here's the resources because people will drive. And I have had people drive to come see me. And so if you are in a town that doesn't have resources, but then like when you're networking with people, be like, hey, do you want to get on my email list? And I will send you all of these digital things that you can give out to your patients. So I just started that one too.
That's awesome. I think that's going to catch like wildfire because
Yeah.
I think the more you can help providers help their clients, the more likely they are to refer to you. And it's such a easy, simple strategy that most people overlook, which is they approach referral relationships in the sense of like, well, I want you to send your clients to me. But I think the
Mhm.
healthiest way to establish that referral relationship is like put yourself in the provider's shoes. Like what difficulty are they having with their clients right now that you can help them solve? Like how can you be a benefit to them? And that could be a checklist, a guide, resources, and the more you can do that, the more likely it is they're going to refer to you. And so that new email list is going to take off, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I'm excited.
For those OTs out there who want to start their own private pay practice, what are kind of like the top 2 or 3 things that you would recommend they focus on?
So, first, I would say be supported. I don't think I would have gotten to where I am now without mentors and colleagues supporting me. And I feel like the OTs and even the other people that I'm connecting with that are starting their own practices, it's scary to like pay for mentorship. It's scary to really put both feet in and try it. But that's what it really does take of just having somebody keep you going and keep saying, okay, you did this, now do the next thing. And I would also say, I don't know when Lindsay said this. It was years ago. I don't know where she said it, but she's in New York. She said that she collaborated with providers to make her better, or she collaborated. I don't even remember. But in 2020, I was at a Herman and Wallace course and I had just heard her say that. And there was another OT that wanted it to get into pelvic health. And we both were not working in pelvic health at the time. And we just really wanted to at some point. I did not think I was going to start my own business right away, but I just knew I wanted to do this eventually. And we both committed to talking about pelvic health and supporting each other, talking about case studies and what courses we should go to next. And it evolved into how to start our own businesses. And we kind of both took different paths. We're in different states, but it's been 3 years and we've talked almost every single week for 3 years. So it has definitely been that we've been able to see our highs and our lows and what we're struggling with and cheering each other on when we have celebrations. But I don't think I would have stuck with it if I wouldn't have known, like, nope, I have a call this week and I have to do, like, we gave homework to each other of what we should accomplish every single week. So if you don't have that, I would definitely seek somebody out. Like, I know Lindsay has a whole Facebook group of OTs that are wanting to get into this field and really connecting with somebody that will keep you accountable. I think that's been huge for me. The next one I would say is being visible in your community. And I've said this over and over again, but I'm not just going as a provider. Like I also like take my kids to parks. I'm at vendor events, but I'm also taking my family to things in the community and letting my kids play with kids of other moms and striking up conversations. And that's not like, ooh, I'm manipulating my kids. It's just I'm being a part of my community so they see my face. And then saying, "Oh, I see that there's a mom baby group at the library. I'm going to go and talk to the mom baby group there." And just insert myself in any little place that I can. And then the last one I would say is really thinking about the whole experience that you want your patients to have. So walking into my office, you have parking, you have a waiting room, you come in and it looks like a massage room more than a doctor's office. I have a bathroom that is easily accessible to moms. Those things matter. I have boppy pillows that we put their babies on. I can do almost everything one-handed, and I wear babies on me through slings at least once a day. And everybody's amazed. They're like, you're going to hold my baby? I'm like, yes, I'm going to hold your baby because I know that if your baby is crying, your body and your pelvic floor is not going to relax. So there's no point in you being here if your baby is crying. And just anything that you can look at. I write in my planner 3 months once they've discharged, and 6 months once they've discharged, and a year after they've discharged from me to check in with them and just see how they're doing. If they have a random knee surgery, I write down when their knee surgery is and I contact them about that. So it does take more effort, but it's like being the best at customer service that you can be.
That's amazing. And that is an amazing testament, I think, to the service that you're providing to your community and thinking through all of those different steps. And I think like that's one of the power of having your own practice is to be able to
Yep.
put those things in place that are, is going to be really important and impactful to a client that you probably can't do if you're working for someone else or you're working for an insurance-based, clinic where you're not in control of those variables. And I think like it's so freeing that once you have your own business to think through all those things and view everything through that customer service lens that you have. It's no surprise that you're having the success that you are, and just can't wait to see what your business does over the next 3 to 5 years, and really want to thank you for sharing all of your insights today.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.